which is all about the heart of administration. And that's really, we need to cultivate that heart. Some of us are just wired. That's why God wired us to do the role of administration. It's how we function. I know I function best in roles that have that component. So one of the things when I thought about fostering or cultivating the heart of administration, I really thought about the spirit of humility and grace when you're faced with challenges and conflicts. I put as a sub bullet point here, grace and peace, as a reminder for myself. When you think about Paul's letters, he started all of his letters with grace and peace. He didn't say peace and then grace. He said grace first, followed by peace. And to me, that has always been just a really powerful reminder that if I lead in grace, I should be brought to peace. And when you're in an administrative role, sometimes we're behind the scenes. Sometimes we don't hear about the positive. We only hear about the negative. And so my approach as a best practice has always been to lead with grace and know that peace is going to follow. And I take that from those letters that Paul wrote. That's really, it's a good reminder for me, because sometimes in the moment, in challenge and conflicts, it's not always easy to find the grace. Grace is something that I've worked on my whole adult life, and continue to work on that and make sure that that is what I lead with. Then there's some, the practical side of things, policies, procedures. And it can feel challenging to have those written down. But really, if you take the time to document clearly policies, procedures, and then make them easily accessible. That's something we do here, even at Smart Church Solutions. We have policies and procedures that we are updating regularly. But it's not just updating it and having a document out in a Google Drive of 80 million documents. We actually have a place where everybody on staff knows where they are. They can easily get to them if they need to. And that is helpful for those that you're supporting as well. If they're asking for something and you have a policy around that, but they're not aware of it, think about how you maybe could make those a little more easily accessible so that they have that information up front. Another really important thing is, be encouraging of servant leadership among not only your staff, the administrative staff, but your ministry staff, as well as volunteers. I know in administrative roles, we rely heavily on our volunteers. And it's important to make sure that we encourage them to be servant leaders in their volunteerism, but also ministry staff. There are things that as you look around and you look at the types of things that you're being asked to do, maybe some of those things are things that folks can do for themselves. And when you think of servant leadership, ministry staff can take on some of that as well. Isn't it a great idea for everybody to empty their office trash can on the way out the door on a Thursday, instead of paying someone or finding a volunteer to visit all those offices to grab that bag and put a new bag in? It's a simple thing, but when you think about it in the terms of stewardship, it's an easy ask. Prioritize the well-being of your staff and your volunteers. Promote a healthy environment. All right, I know I can't see you all, but I'm just going to ask the question. Raise your hand right now if you've ever felt like, is anyone else going to do this? Or how many days in a row do I need to work? I know we've all felt that way, whether we're administrative or we're ministry staff or what have you. But if you're not prioritizing the well-being of your staff and yourself, along with your volunteers, that's over time going to become a pretty unhealthy environment. And that is not one which is easy to lead in grace. Continuous learning and improvement in processes. That I cannot stress that enough. I feel like if I ever stop learning, I'm in trouble, because I know the world around me is changing radically. So finding opportunities to continuously learn is super important, but improvement in processes also critical. One of my least favorite things is when someone tells me, but we've always done it that way. And that can be an accurate statement, and you might need to continue doing things the way you've been doing them. But if you don't continue to look at them, to understand objectives, to understand the why behind what you're doing, you may miss some really key opportunities to improve your processes. So I know for me, it probably drives the folks that work for me a little crazy, but I am always questioning, why are we doing now? Walk me through why we did it that way. And it's not because I think we do things wrong. It's not because, somebody handled something inappropriately. It's because I always want to see, is there a place for improvement? I won't know if I don't ask. And I put it at the bottom, but it's really the top. Make sure you are cultivating your relationship with Jesus. To spend so much time on the to-dos and not carve out that time in your own relationship will be a hindrance to what you're doing. You've got to spend the time in your own relationship. And that, I can tell you, after almost 8 years at a church, I struggled with that from time to time, because I had to be here and I had to be there and I had to do this and I had to do that. And sometimes that meant I carved the time away out of the time I should have been spending on my relationship with Jesus. So being aware of that and making sure that you hold that to the front of everything you're doing is going to be critical in cultivating your heart towards administrative work.